Hey partners and customers, this is Ernie Latinsky, President of RBP Chemical Technology, and I'm proud to be here today with Tony Jackson, our Director of Sales and Business Development for electronics and then photochemical milling industries. So today we're just going to do a short little talk and maybe answer some questions that may be out there, and we'll probably go through a little discovery on photochemical milling. But before we do that, I'd like to give just a quick overview on RBP Chemical. So we're proud to say that we're a privately owned company that has been in existence here in Milwaukee since 1954. We've actually started in the press room industry in graphic arts. So if you think of a newspaper or a book or a point of purchase display, think about a lot of our chemistries on those products. As the years went by, we actually entered other markets. So printed circuit board manufacturing was another forte for us in the mid-60s, and we continued to expand. We're proud to say that between these two industries and photochemical milling that we're talking about a little bit here today, and then medical devices, that we are surface chemistry experts. So if you're looking for something with chemistry, what we really try to take a look at is what is that transfer function and interaction of chemistries with whatever other medium may exist. Although we're here in Milwaukee, we've got a global footprint. So we've either got partners or own facilities in South Korea, China, Thailand, and domestically here through the US. At the end of the day, what really is important is our mission statement and vision and what we do for our customers. And we're really not in a buy-sell relationship. We try to earn your trust. But if you think about it, we want to optimize your processes for safety, quality, delivery, and cost. And if we could do that, your winnings and your monies are a win for us as well. So as you grow, we like to grow with customers and continue down that path. And as I touched upon earlier, if you really think about it with surface chemistries, it's that transfer function that's important. So if you take a look at what we have here, we've got a press room and a press. But really, it's that surface chemistry interaction that gets us into other industries as well, whether it's photochemical milling, printed circuit boards, medical devices, or semiconductors as well, with cleaning and doing what we need to do to ensure that all our devices are working as appropriately, both in the Internet of Things and our everyday appliances and commodities that we have out there. So with no further ado, I'd really like to get to why we're here today, and that's to talk about photochemical milling, which is truly an exceptionally awesome industry. So I'm going to hand it off to Tony at this point in time, who's our expert here at RBP Chemical when we start talking PCMI.
Thanks, Ernie. Appreciate it. Yeah, so a little bit about photochemical milling. It's really applies to a lot of different industries. It can be in the medical device, aerospace, consumer electronics, ornamental fabrication. Photochemical milling is very similar to interlayer processing in circuit board manufacturing. And how we apply our skill sets for optimizing is something that Ernie had touched on, this surface preparation and optimizing the process. A couple of things we do. The steps are very similar between the two industries, so we'd like to touch on some of those key areas from the cleaning of the substrate to imaging to resist stripping and etching to make sure that we're providing what RBP can bring to the table as far as your benefit working with RBP Chemical Technology in this industry. So ultimately, for the steps in the key steps where RBP has product that is really fits into the photochemical milling process, first is preparation of the surface. Whether we're stainless steel, brass, beryllium, copper, any materials that might have Inconel, Constantan, you name it. We have specific chemistries that help prep that surface, and some of the work we've done to quantify for our customers is to do like an elemental analysis, like a SEM EDAX on that surface with our cleaners. So first of all, what we want to try to remove is organic coatings that are on that surface that might come from the laminate supplier. There may be rolling oils or greases that are on these surfaces that we have very, very effective alkaline cleaners to remove that those organic coverings that are on there that are there for shipment to the end user, like a photochemical miller. So once we've got that removed, and we've been able to show customers with that SEM EDAX the removal of carbon, more or less, from the surface to show them that that is gone. That surface then needs to be acidified prior to it being coated with the dry film that the photochemical millers typically will put on to make their circuit pattern. If we had an alkaline surface there, it would not permit that dry film to stick appropriately. So we acidify that with some proprietary cleaners that are completely non-etching on those stainless steels, those coppers, those brasses, berylliums, those types of materials, to acidify it. It goes to that image process next, where the customer will fully coat and hot roll laminate that dry film to the surface, and then will image it for their circuit pattern that they'd like to have their part made from their customer. Then what happens is the product is developed through a conveyorized machine. The area where the light energy or thermal energy hit that dry film will be developed off, and then you have your circuit pattern for etching. RBP employs some products for the etching process as well, some pretty commoditized products, but we really help the customer to provide good yield in etching and consumption of chemistry in those areas for etching. Three of the products that are available from RBP, sodium chlorate, various Baumé degrees of ferric chloride, and hydrochloric acid that are used in pH ORP control for the balance of proper metal loading in that etching chamber. RBP also finds it very, very important in all of these steps to make sure that the chemistry, the equipment, and the materials that are being processed through those individual chemical processing steps are all melded very well together, making sure that we're not degrading the equipment that chemistry is in, and then making sure the customer is getting the best yield out of the chemistry and the cheapest operating cost out of that chemistry that's being utilized. So back to the etching. There's a whole set of controllers that are available for pH ORP. We help the customers balance that etching chamber to make sure that it's running optimally through the course of the life of that bath. Additionally, in that particular etch chamber, we have equipment cleaners that are available, because over time those metals are loaded at a certain ounce per gallon or gram per liter in that sump. It can precipitate out in downtime, and it can build up and precipitate itself on the walls of the machine and in the nozzles. So we have some proprietary cleaners for cupric etch equipment cleaning, and also for the ferric chloride cleaners to make sure that we're getting good spray nozzle integrity, and the nozzle spray pattern that the customer is paying for is making sure that that pattern is hitting that part number that's being put through the conveyor. So some real good products there as well. Next, after that particular step, a lot of the customers will do an inspection to make sure that they've got good line edge width, and we'll have dialogue with them on that if they're not getting exactly what they need, to go backwards in the process and make sure that we're focusing on what we've done in the cleaning process, the image process, and the etch process to make sure that they're getting a good defined edge on that dry film that's been co-laminated to the substrate surface. After that step's complete, customers will go to the resist stripping portion, where they're basically resist stripping off that dry film from where that circuit pattern is, because that base material that has remained on the surface, that dry film worked as an etch resist in that previous step I just mentioned for etching. We resist strip off that layer, and here's another area where we've helped the customers where there have been issues where some of that dry film has remained on that part. And if you can think about in some of these industries where photochemical milling, as I mentioned at the beginning, if it's aerospace or a medical device or something that's critical to a human life, more or less, or could cause an issue in the life cycle of that part, we have to make sure that that dry film is completely off of that surface of that circuit pattern. So some of the things we've done with our customers is worked with some partnered labs and even our lab at RBP to ensure that we have, again, the dry film being organic, we've removed all of the latent dry film off of those circuit patterns to make sure that down the road, when that part is in its final setting, that there's no contribution to that carbon base being on that surface, shortening the life of that part. So then after that, really the part of the chemistry from RBP is complete. We'll partner with the customer for new parts that they will be putting through. If it's a new substrate, a new dry film, perhaps there's a difference in supply of one of their chemistries that they have in the etch chamber, or something might be slightly different, that we stay with the customer and continue to provide a trusted partnership to provide value, making sure their operating cost is still where they need it to be, and that yield is still where it is, because yield is king for all customers. If a small 1% and 0.5% improvement in yield goes a long way in paying for misused chemistry. So we continue to partner with our customers and work very, very closely with them continually.
Hey, Tony, I really appreciate you bringing that up.
You're welcome.
I learned a little bit more today than I knew yesterday, and I'm really proud of you and the team for really digging in on those secondary and tertiary effects that folks don't often see in a process.
Yeah.
And that's more than just selling chemistry, and that's
Definitely.
the partnership that you do with the audits on the lines and figuring things out. Again, that there may be those lurking variables outside our chemistry.
I would add to that, where the customers are on that is they all have similar steps, right? But what's intimate to each individual customer is what they do in that step. So we never make the assumption that we know everything. We learn what that customer's doing in that step and custom put
Absolutely.
that information to their application.
Absolutely. And then the same holds true, right? When you talked earlier about maybe a new substrate coming in.
Yes, exactly.
It's a learning process
Yep.
again, and that's
100%.
That's the beauty of what I appreciate about your team, driving safety, quality, and yield, as you mentioned, and then delivery and cost, most importantly in many cases, in this environment today. So I appreciate it, and we truly hope that you learned something today. I'm proud to be here with Tony, and Tony's available at any time here at RBP Chemical. We look forward to discussing whatever you want to discuss. Give us a phone call, drop a web inquiry. Please
Yes.
come and visit us anytime you want here at RBP. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks. Thanks, Ernie.